I'm Devin Canaz. I'm the publisher of Travelweek, and we are here for a very exciting webinar today with Quark Expeditions. Before I introduce our wonderful guest today, I'd just like to take care of a bit of housekeeping. First of all, there's going to be a $100 gift card prize at the end of the webinar, so make sure you stay on till the end so that you qualify to win. Also, we're going to save all the questions until the end. So put your questions in the Q&A box and we will get to them. Please ask as many questions as you would like so we can really get to the bottom of all this. And also, if you have any technical problems, put something in the chat and one of my helpers will help you. So I would like to introduce Cara Matthew. She is a regional sales manager in Canada for Quark Expeditions. Hi, Cara.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Devin.
Yes, thank you for being here. We're really excited to learn all about Quark and think about maybe some cool weather since we're all sweltering here in the summer.
That is for sure. And there's nothing that gets me more excited than talking about the ends of the Earth, the polar regions. So I'm thrilled to be here today.
Yes. Okay. Well, take it away.
Well, amazing. Well, as Devin was saying, my name is Cara Matthew, and I've actually been with Quark Expeditions for almost 15 years now. I absolutely love where we go and what we do in these regions. So please reach out to me if you have any questions at all. I'm also here to help you with your client calls. I can always get on a call or a webinar with you and your clients and share some of these great itineraries with you and them. So definitely reach out to me at any time. I'm here to help. I've been to areas like the North Pole, 90 degrees north, where I actually got engaged back in 2010 at the North Pole. And then I've also been to areas of Antarctica, Greenland, which I'll share more about with you later on. But what I wanted to cover with you today is why have your clients travel with Quark Expeditions? Why should you choose Quark Expeditions for the polar regions for your clients? Well, we've actually been in business for over 31 years, and we only do polar exclusively. We're not a traditional cruise company that dabbles a little bit in the Arctic and Antarctica. We only take travelers to the Arctic and Antarctica. We don't go anywhere else in the world. We're really specialists in these areas. So if you think Quark Expeditions, definitely think polar. Uncompromisingly polar. Try and say that 10 times fast before you've had your morning coffee. So think of polar when you think of Quark Expeditions. We were actually the first company to fully circumnavigate Antarctica with passengers. We were also the first company to take guests to the North Pole back in 1991. And back in 2004, which I'll talk about in a moment, we actually helped discover and confirm a emperor penguin rookery in Antarctica off of Snow Hill Island. So those are just some of our firsts about why choosing Quark Expeditions for your clients. With Quark Expeditions, we have a small little fleet of expedition vessels. So we have 3 ships in our fleet, only under 200 passengers. So we have ships that are 128 guests, 172, up to 199. And it's really important when you're choosing ships for your clients in these really remote locations to choose ships under 200 passengers, because everyone can get off the ship at the same time with Quark Expeditions. There's nothing worse than a ship that's 250, 300, 500 passengers, where your clients are thinking that they can get off quite a lot in these destinations or get off at all. As soon as you have a ship that's larger than 200 passengers, not everyone can get off the ship at the same time. So you'll have groups A, B, C, and D, maybe A's going out and seeing whales and wildlife, and then they have to come back on board. And then groups B, C, and D can't go out because maybe the weather's changed or those whales have left. And then you've got a little bit of jealousy happening on board. So really consider small ship cruising for your clients when you are thinking of expeditions and also expeditions in the polar regions. So with Quark Expeditions, we're getting off the ship as much as possible and in the heart of these destinations. So we do have a diverse fleet of small little ships, because the whole point of getting on these little ships is to be able to get off and really explore the really remote locations of the planet. So we have our brand new Ultramarine, it's 199 guests. This ship was purposely built for the polar regions. She does the Arctic and Antarctica with us. Again, we don't go anywhere else in the world. So this ship goes to just the polar regions. And what's really special about this ship is she has an internal Zodiac hangar that quickly and safely deploys 20 Zodiacs, allowing for more spontaneous activity in the region. So we can get off the ship really quickly and for clients to engage with intimate wildlife and scenery. So this unique design does allow guests to get off the ship in half the time of other vessels. So that's just another reason too to choose Quark Expeditions. We have a great ready room, a mud room on the Ultramarine. We also have 2 helicopters. So we have 2 twin engine helicopters operated from 2 heli decks on the Ultramarine that allow more passengers to simultaneously experience new destinations accessible only by air in the polar regions. So we have heli flight seeing included in areas of Antarctica, Greenland, Canadian Arctic, when you're choosing the Ultramarine for your clients in the polar regions. Just because it's an expedition doesn't mean we have to give up excellent cuisine and creature comforts. So we have an excellent dining room. We also have lounges. So this is an excellent way for guests to enjoy a view from every seat in the dining room while still having excellent cuisine. We also have a spa on board the Ultramarine and a gym. And so there's great onboard amenities for your clients to enjoy after they've come back from a great excursion. We even have solo cabins on the Ultramarine. So we have 6 outside solo cabins with floor to ceiling windows. So for your solo travelers, definitely share with them the Ultramarine. But that's not all. We have balcony suites all the way up to owner suites and the Ultra Suite as well, just depending on how spacious your clients want their cabin to be. But in Antarctica, we also have a great premium ship called the World Explorer. This vessel has 172 passengers and is a great premium ship, excellent for Antarctica. She does not have the helicopters, but she has 86 cabins and a fantastic, beautiful ship for maneuvering around Antarctica and having your clients experience the intimacy of Antarctica with a great dining room, again, a gym, an amazing spa, great observation room on the top of the ship, on the top deck. But the cabins are all outside cabins with the World Explorer as well. So this is an example of the veranda suite. This is the introductory suite alone on the World Explorer. So just depending on the level of spaciousness your clients are needing on board. So please ask for more information on the details of our ships. But last but not least is our amazing ocean adventurer. This little expedition ship has been on our fleet the longest of the 3. She was built in the 70s, but we did a multi-million-dollar refurbishment on her in 2017, even putting Rolls-Royce engines in this incredible ship. And so she's one of our staff favorites in the polar regions because she is very small and nimble, just over 10 tons. She's almost 11 tons. So very small and little nimble expedition ship. So perfect for your clients that might have a little bit more of a budget price range, but also great for tried and true expedition folks that really don't care about creature comforts as much, but there's still amazing cabins, great dining room, an excellent lounge. And this is an example of an updated suite. So now that I went over a little bit of our ships with you, let's go to the bottom of the world and discuss a few of our innovative itineraries that really set apart Quark Expeditions from the other operators in these regions. Quark Expeditions has trips as little as 8 days going to Antarctica, all the way to 20 and 23 days. And most of our departures go from Ushuaia, Argentina, where we're sailing across the Drake Passage. And then we also have trips from Punta Arenas, Chile, that fly the Drake Passage, this rough body of water that typically takes a day and a half to 2 days in each direction to sail. But we can fly there in about 2.5 hours on a jet and land in Antarctica, where all of the guests get on the ship that's empty, waiting for them, having a great expedition, about approximately 5 days on the peninsula before flying back to Punta Arenas. So I wanted to highlight that for you today. Our season goes from the end of October all the way through to the beginning of April, end of March. It's a really big season because we only operate in the polar regions. So we have a lot of different itineraries with 3 ships for you to choose from. Antarctica is absolutely beautiful. It's truly like no other place on the planet. We aim for approximately 2 excursions a day. We're getting off the ship as much as possible. We actually supply these parkas. They are included for every guest. And we also supply muck boots. The muck boots are on loan for duration of the trip, but the parkas are your clients to keep after their voyage. I almost wore my parka today for all of you, my yellow parka, but I decided to wear my Arcteryx jacket instead for you today. But penguins are definitely the star of the show. So if you have wildlife enthusiasts in your database, I definitely would reach out to them, or birders, if you have any birders in your list, or photographers. I grew up on the west coast of British Columbia, and I loved whales, seeing whales, and even going to Hawaii and seeing humpback whales. But there was nothing quite like seeing 2 humpback whales in Antarctica. Back in 2012, when I was in Antarctica in February, I was with my 66-year-old aunt, and we were having an amazing trip. And true expedition style, to expect the unexpected, we were supposed to go on a landing that morning, but 2 whales, a mother and her calf, actually popped up in this cove, in this area that we were in. And so we stayed for about 2 hours watching the mother and her calf, and the calf was kind of playing underneath the zodiac and coming up. And it was a most exhilarating experience in Antarctica. There's also 5 species of orcas in Antarctica. In the subantarctic region. And so this is incredible that a species of orca can't be found anywhere else other than the subantarctic region. So lots to see and do. We have those 8-day trips where we fly from Punta Arenas and fly over the Drake Passage. So this is an excellent place to start for your clients if you don't want to overwhelm them with a lot of different choices in Antarctica. This is great for December, January, and February, and in the heart of the Arctic summer, the Antarctic summer. And then we also have this traditional 11 and 12-day Antarctic explorer trip. So this is our most popular voyage, our bread and butter trips. Again, if you have a client thinking about going to Antarctica, maybe they've gone to Africa and on an African safari, or maybe they've been to Galapagos and they're looking for something new and unique. Maybe it's their 7th continent. I definitely highly recommend sharing the 11 and 12-day Antarctic Explorer voyage first. We have excellent expedition brochures that you can send to your client and place your own call to action on and your own logo. And so I highly recommend starting with the Antarctic Explorer when your clients are thinking about going to Antarctica. For those of your clients that want a little bit more time in Antarctica, we do have 14-day trips that cross the Antarctic Circle. Maybe you have those checklist clients, those bucket list travelers that say, okay, I want to stand on the Antarctic continent, but why not cross 66 degrees south and go into the heart of the Antarctic Circle as well? If your clients have the time and they have longer than 8 days or 12 days and want to explore longer, I highly recommend sharing South Georgia and Falkland Islands itineraries with them as well, in combination with Antarctica. It's definitely a little bit more time. So maybe your clients that are maybe retired or on sabbatical, or have more vacation time in general, or maybe they've just graduated with their master's or their PhD, and they're looking to do a once-in-a-lifetime trip before heading into their full-time careers. Falkland Islands in South Georgia with Antarctica is an incredible destination. Lots of history. And there's Shackleton's grave in South Georgia, fantastic explorer. That's a wonderful story that our historians will share on board, because we have glaciologists, geologists, historians. We even have penguinologists that travel with us to Antarctica. And then in the Falkland Islands, there's the world's largest black-browed albatross colony in the Falkland Islands, and lots of history in areas like Stanley. So lots to see and do in the subantarctic region. So highly recommend sharing a 16 or 18-day South Georgia trip with Antarctica. And South Georgia is actually home to over 200,000 nesting pairs of king penguins, the 2nd tallest penguin species on the planet. So if you, again, have the wildlife enthusiasts, the South Georgia region is known as the Serengeti of the subantarctic, or known as the Galapagos of the subantarctic region. But then for your clients who can go for a little bit longer, we have 20-day trips that include Falklands, South Georgia, and the Antarctic Peninsula. We also have trips that are 23 days, the whole kit and caboodle, where we do Falkland Islands, South Georgia, and crossing the Antarctic Circle. So just depending on how long your client can go for. We also have Patagonia trips as well, but I wanted to really highlight some of our most popular Antarctic trips. Well, as I mentioned earlier, back in 2004, Quark Expeditions made polar history when we conducted the first ever ground visit to the remote emperor penguin colony near Snow Hill Island in Antarctica. So today it's one of the most exclusive wildlife experiences on the planet. And we're actually doing 2 voyages this upcoming November. So November of 2023, to have an incredible, unique, intimate experience with the emperor penguins. So this is on our ultramarine ship. So even though the ultramarine usually holds 199 guests, we're actually capping it at 150 guests. And so we're taking the helicopters about 1.5 kilometers outside of the rookery, and then we're walking all the guests into the rookery, and we'll switch. We'll have one group go in the morning, and then they'll come back to the ship, and then another group go in the afternoon. So this is a 14-day voyage. Maybe your clients that have gone gorilla trekking and seen the gorillas in Rwanda, that's another perfect type of client for this experience. Or maybe you have clients that have been to Antarctica already. Highly recommend sharing this with them as well. So now let's go to the top of the world and discuss some innovative Arctic itineraries that Quark Expeditions has in the Arctic, because we have the 2 ships there, the Ultramarine and the Ocean Adventurer. And what's very unique about the Arctic is the fact that there's community visits, whereas Antarctica, it's a continent surrounded by water with no inhabitants. People have not been able to live there. Now, of course, there are research stations and things like that. But with the Arctic, if your clients are really interested in history and cultural aspects of a trip, highly recommend sharing the Arctic with them. The Arctic has been inhabited for over 3,000 years, and it's waters, the ocean, surrounded by a lot of landmass, so very different than Antarctica. So we travel here where Antarctica picks off. We travel to the Arctic where Antarctica leaves off at the end of April, all the way to the beginning of October. So again, there's no bad time to travel in these regions. It's just maybe what your clients want to see and do. So we typically explore off the coast of Norway, Svalbard. We explore a lot of areas of Greenland and the Canadian Arctic. But today, I just wanted to handpick a few itineraries. So before I get talking about the Canadian Arctic, I wanted to share with you this itinerary that we have that's 14 days, brand new on our Ultramarine ship. It starts in Aberdeen, Scotland, goes up to Faroe Islands, Jan Mayen. So this is great for your first timers, maybe some of your clients who haven't thought about going to the polar region. So this is a great way of having a couple of days in Spitsbergen to see the polar bears, but having lots of other fantastic experiences on the way that are very adventurous. Especially your birders would love this itinerary as well. But I wanted to mention some exciting new innovative Canadian Arctic itineraries that Quark Expeditions launched that no one else is doing. So the Canadian Arctic is really ideal for those seeking new experiences. Maybe your clients have cruised all the rivers and are thinking, now what can I experience? So the Canadian Arctic is filled with glacier-topped mountains and jagged coastlines and lots of majestic wildlife as well. But the wildlife is a bit harder to find in the Arctic, whereas Antarctica, it's everywhere. We don't guarantee seeing penguins, but I would actually say there's plentiful penguins in Antarctica. But the Canadian Arctic is home to a thriving and varied ecosystem. And so a lot of people will hear the Northwest Passage. And so we do trips that are the Northwest Passage, but short Northwest Passage trips. So it's not the full 33, 27-day trips. We actually have taken from our comment cards in the past from guests from the past 31 years and taken the highlights, because with the Ultramarine, we actually can leave the Ultramarine up and position her in Resolute for a very long period of time. And we can do shorter itineraries like 9 and 12-day and 17-day trips. So if your clients are wanting to experience Nunavut, but not going for a long period of time, we have excellent itineraries where your clients can explore traditional Inuit art, and have cultural community exchange programs. And also experience the Canadian Arctic by helicopter, because with the ultramarine, we have the flight sightseeing included. But your historians, your clients that really love history, we have the historian chatting about Franklin's legendary exploration route. And we see 3 of the grave sites of some of his men in Beechey Island. But then there's also, we can try and visit the famous fossil forest with hiking and activities provided, because hiking is included in all of our trips. So if you have clients that are really interested in history, or learners on your list, those kinds of clients that love exploring Italy and going to the museums, or your clients that love going to the UK, Devin and I were just talking about London earlier. So if you have clients that love exploring castles in regions or museums, definitely share the Canadian Arctic Nunavut with your clients. But there's also wildlife that I haven't discussed yet, like the hare, the Arctic hare, Arctic fox, and walrus. And we also are always on the lookout for polar bears in the Canadian Arctic in Nunavut. And so with these itineraries, the bears are out on the sea ice, generally speaking. Some are on land, but we're trying to find the polar bears out on the sea ice when they're hunting. So we typically go to the Canadian Arctic in August and September, in the heart of the North American summer, when the ice is broken up enough in these areas. And we are actually going into these communities in August and September in their hunting season. So it's been amazing that we're really in touch with these communities and have excellent community engagement programs. So just 2 itineraries that I wanted to highlight for you today is this 9-day trip in and out of Calgary. This is a voyage that starts day 1 in Calgary, day 2 flies up to Resolute, having a full Antarctic trip or full Arctic trip before flying back to Calgary on day 8. And then your clients can go home on day 9, or maybe go to Banff for Lake Louise, or continue on to go to the Okanagan. So this is an excellent itinerary to see Nunavut. But for your clients that have a lot more time, we have a 12-day departure. So we have 2 next year, because this trip is already sold out for August of this year, next month. Actually, it's a few weeks away. So we have 2 departures in August next year, if you have clients that are interested. And I can't talk about the Arctic without talking about Greenland, the largest island on the planet. Greenland is renowned for its stunning beauty and its scenery. And each part of Greenland is so different. So it is, again, the largest island on the planet, home to the longest fjord systems in the world. And we go to South Greenland, West Greenland, and East Greenland. And it's absolutely gorgeous. If you have clients that have been to Alaska, highly recommend sharing them a West Greenland itinerary. Or if you have clients that are really active and love hiking, definitely share with them a South Greenland trip, like our Greenland Explorer voyage. Again, we go into community visits in Greenland, do hiking opportunities, heli landings in Greenland, as well as the heli flight sightseeing. So the heli flight sightseeing is included in Greenland. This is an example of an alpine lake and gorgeous mountain ranges. And again, your historians, there's lots of history in South Greenland. It's got a lot of Viking history, especially Eric the Red history coming over from Iceland. So there is a little something for everyone, and it's more temperate than other areas. It's about +7 degrees, +10 degrees Celsius when we're going. So everyone can really have the experience that they want in Greenland, whether it's South Greenland, West Greenland, or East Greenland. So we start our Greenland departures in July, and they go all the way to the beginning of October with our Under the Northern Lights trips. So just depending on what your clients are wanting to see, well, we have 2 gems of West Greenland itineraries next year, brand new itineraries. This is exactly the type of itinerary for your Alaskan cruisers. But then for your active clients or your cruiser clients as well, your leisure and active clients would love this trip, the Greenland Explorer voyage. And we also have 2 of these for next September, where your clients can see the Northern Lights, but during the day have an excellent active itinerary. And we're also going into beautiful communities on this trip as well. And then on our Ocean Adventurer ship, we have this excellent itinerary where we have a couple of departures this September, but we also have 1 departure next September where we explore a lot of the northwest portion of Iceland before sailing over the Denmark Strait to East Greenland. So we can see the Northern Lights at night. So after walking, contemplative walks or hiking, seeing wildlife throughout the day, I saw musk oxen on my trip back in 2016 and Arctic fox, Arctic hare. But then the sun setting around 10 o'clock at night. So in the middle of the night, we were woken up by our expedition leader. It's about 1 a.m, and our expedition leader got on the loudspeaker and said, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. This is your expedition leader. Please take your time getting out on deck because the Northern Lights are putting on a phenomenal show." So I ran out on deck, and I actually, the first night, I had my pajama bottoms on, my fleece pajama bottoms on that have little wine glasses on them. But thank goodness everyone was looking up at the Northern Lights and no one was really paying attention to my pajama bottoms. So we do have excellent Northern Lights itineraries. That is a big bucket list item for a lot of travelers. So highly recommend sharing some Greenland itineraries with them to see them. We also have a very innovative Inuit culinary experience on the ultramarine on selected Arctic departures. So our groundbreaking Tundra to Table experience actually offers guests a one-of-a-kind adventure into the culinary traditions of Inuit in Greenland and Nunavut. So we have Greenlandic chefs and a Nunavut chef as well. So guests who participate in this on-ship adventure option, it is happening during dinner, during our regular dinner time. It is an additional cost, but your clients will enjoy dishes from these Arctic regions prepared by Inuit chefs and learn about local traditional cuisine. For instance, this is caribou. And also I wanted to share with you some of the dessert, and it is paired with ciders and wines. So there are select departures for the rest of this year, but also for next year. And so please reach out if you have any questions at all. We do have US pricing as well as Canadian pricing for our voyages. And this is commissionable to you as well if you book it before your client gets on board. Another big differentiator with Quark Expeditions and a lot of the other operators in these regions is our off-ship experience. We have the largest portfolio of off-ship adventure options in the polar regions, especially now that we have 2 helicopters on the ultramarine. So we go further and farther into these regions, not only with our helicopters, but with area adventure options like kayaking and heli landings and hiking. So this is an excellent differentiator between us and a lot of the other operators. We have so much included. We have the polar plunge included with every voyage. We have flight sightseeing. We even have landing on the Greenlandic ice sheet in Greenland for our Greenland Explorer program. So there's Zodiac cruising, lots of different contemplative walks, but we also have paid adventure options that I wanted to share with you. So these are additional on selected voyages like our sea kayaking program or stand-up paddleboarding in Antarctica. We have heli landings that are additional in areas of Antarctica and Greenland. So just depending on the level of activity and adventure your client is looking for, there's so much to choose from. We even have the paid adventure options on the ultramarine for heli landings as well, if your clients are looking for that added level of excitement. Another huge differentiator with Quark Expeditions and the rest is our expedition team. We have 1 expedition team member to 5 guests. It's the lowest ratio in the industry. And as I was saying earlier, we have glaciologists, biologists, geologists, and they're all sitting with your clients during dinners and lunches. So really hands-on approach. And so we're really exploring together as a team. They're not only giving great educational programs and lectures throughout the trip, but they're also out on deck with your clients. They're the ones actually driving the Zodiacs. So the presentations are actually given by world leaders in various topics like polar history. And I used to think polar history was so boring until I started traveling with Quark Expeditions. So they're really, each guest is traveling with the most experienced expedition team led by the best team in the industry. Some have actually have over 200 voyages during their 20 plus careers at Quark Expeditions in the polar regions. We also have a Quark Academy program, which means safety. Quark Academy is the only proprietary polar training program for our expedition guides in the industry. This ensures guests have a really immersive experience possible with the best team in the industry. This is one of the reasons why I've been with the company for almost 15 years, is our expedition team. Please ask me about sustainability. We have an excellent public sustainability report. I also have infographics. So more than ever, people are really choosing the impact of sustainability on their trip. So please reach out to me if you have any questions. But one of our polar pillars of our Polar Promise, because we came out with our Polar Promise back in 2019. And one of our pillars is partnerships. So creating strong partnerships to promote conservation in the polar environments. But ultimately, our sustainability platform is about preserving the polar regions for our next generation of polar travelers. So we really love having travelers come back and guests come back as polar ambassadors. And that is our Polar Promise indeed. But before we close today, I wanted to share with you really who is the traveler with Quark Expeditions, who travels to the polar regions with Quark Expeditions. And as we chatted through our presentation, we were discussing a little bit about who travels to the polar regions with Quark Expeditions. But these are really our 4 types of travelers. And one's the adventurer. That's who we know so well, is those types of folks that love active adventure travel, whether it's kayaking in their destinations or intensive hiking. But I almost find that an adventurous spirit is a traveler who is about 86-year-old who I traveled with in Greenland on one of my trips. And she didn't get off the ship once. And I think that's an adventurous spirit as well, cruising, meandering around the icebergs and fjords and chatting with the captain. She was up on the bridge. I think that's also an adventurous spirit. But we also have the escapists. People are just wanting to get away from it all and unplugging, getting in the heart of nature. There is great Wi-Fi on board the Ultramarine, but it's nice for people to unplug. And some people want a detox from technology when they're in the polar regions. But we also have the learner, and we chatted about this earlier. Your clients who are middle-aged, want some premium accommodations, but really are looking for that educational experience when they're traveling. And then we also have the checklister. These are your clients that are wanting to tick off maybe standing on the 7th continent, maybe Antarctica is their 7th continent, or maybe they want a checklist seeing a polar bear in the Arctic, or maybe they want a checklist seeing the northern lights on their list. So these are a lot of types of travelers that are coming with us that I just wanted to share with you, that you can go into your database and find these types of clients. And I was chatting about Galapagos earlier, or your Alaska clients sharing maybe a Greenland itinerary, or Galapagos sharing South Georgia and Antarctica with them. Maybe your clients that have been to Iceland share the Nunavut with them, the Canadian Arctic. But your clients that have definitely been on an African safari, any small little river cruise, these are definitely the types of clients to recommend to polar travel. Some of them probably have never even thought of going to the polar regions before, not thinking that it's for them, that it's too out of the box. So I really encourage you to try and look in your database for these type of travelers. Or if you don't think you have any in your database, maybe go to your local kayaking community, maybe your nature conservancy in your area. Definitely reach out to some people that belong to clubs like that. Those are definitely the types of travelers that come with Quark Expeditions. So if you don't have a polar traveler, these are some great places to look. And don't forget to become a Polar Pro today. And we have some great offers as well. So please sign up for our Polar Pro program. It's a great sales enablement tool, quarkexpeditionspolarpro.com. There's 6 modules that take about 8 to 12 minutes each to complete. And if you complete the program and make a booking within 3 months, I will send you a $250 Visa gift card. So please sign up and become a Polar Pro today. You can become a Polar Pro, and not only for Quark Expeditions, but learn a lot about expedition in general. You'll learn about why Quark Expeditions, a little bit more information, why the Arctic, why Antarctica, and more information about our diverse fleet. But also there's great videos and images that you can use, and we own the rights to them. So please feel free to use them for your own personal social media or your own newsletters. And they're there for you to also get inspired. Quark Expeditions has just redone our terms and conditions. So what's very new with Quark is if you make a booking and your clients want to cancel within 15 days, then they actually, no questions asked, can get cancellation with free of charge. And then also there's no surcharges. 0 surcharges mean that your clients book the trip and it's the price they pay. There's no fuel surcharges or anything else that's additional later on. That is the worst, when some people have a fuel surcharge and you have to go back to your clients and say that they owe more money after paying for a trip of a lifetime. So there's lots of promotions, but please feel free to reach out. We have up to 35% off trips that is valid until the end of September, but we also have free solo supplement on our ship, especially the World Explorer. So if your clients aren't looking at the ultramarine for an itinerary, but they're looking at, for instance, a fly cruise 8-day program to Antarctica, we've waived the solo supplement, which is usually either 70% higher or double, depending on the cabin category. So there's lots of promotions. So please feel free to reach out. And it's been an absolute pleasure being with all of you today. So I wanted to give you a sneak peek of what Quark Expeditions offers, if you haven't heard of Quark Expeditions before. But I also wanted to share a little bit about what's new and innovative with Quark for those of you that know us so well. So thank you for your time today, and please let me know if you have any questions at all.
Thank you, Cara. That was great. I'm so jealous of your Northern Lights experience. That's one thing I haven't gotten around to yet.
It's really exhilarating. By the fourth night, I stopped waking up on the trip because I was trying to get up really early for the 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. Zodiac cruise. So they're always action packed.
Yeah. I actually was in Antarctica at the end of last year, and yeah, it totally blew my mind. You just don't realize how uninhabited these places are, and just like how pristine the beauty is.
Yes. Yes. It's truly shifting and life altering, I found as well.
So what kind of fitness level do people need to have if they're going on all these excursions?
Oh, that's such an excellent question, because our minimum age is 8 years old and our average age is around 55. But I like to say, if someone's fit enough to maybe walk their dog once a day and go on a stroll with their dog, I think that's the perfect fitness level for someone wanting to explore the polar regions with Quark Expeditions. But with that being said, if that person's with a really active traveler, someone who wants to do longer hikes or more vigorous hikes, not just contemplative walks, there's options available in various levels of hiking as well, which is why it's truly a little something for every type of traveler, even for small groups and families traveling together.
Great, thank you. Agents, I just want to remind you out there, if you have any questions, I will get them answered for you now. I think you might have already answered this, but just clarify, where do agents find marketing materials that they can use on their own social media and email channels?
Excellent. So definitely sign up for a Polar Pro program and become a Polar Pro today. This is where all the images and videos are kept, and you can use them for your own social media, put your own logo on them, your own call to action. And of course, I'm here to help. So if you can't find what you're looking for in this kit, there's even flyers that you can use, and you can put your call to action on them and send them out as well.
An agent would like you to comment on the meals. Can you kind of give us an overview of what the eating looks like on these ships?
Yes, absolutely. So our cuisine is absolutely exceptional. So there's a picture of dessert. Our eating and our chefs are world renowned. They are excellent. Just because it's an expedition doesn't mean that your clients are going to be either starving or have something that they don't like to eat. And so with our food and cuisine, we have dietary restrictions too available for your clients with the vegan, vegetarian, we have dairy-free and gluten-free, and we can accommodate even pescatarians if people are wanting just fish throughout their trip. So it's open dining. There's not like 6 dining rooms on board or 4 dining rooms like traditional larger ship cruising. We have small intimate ships. So for instance, on the ultramarine, like you see here, there's 1 dining room, but we have bistros and other areas where people can sit and eat if they choose to. And so it's open dining, and the food is incredible. So we'll have appetizers and a main course for your clients to choose from, as well as dessert if they so wish. I got so used to the cheese plates as well. I was wondering where they were when I got home and wondering why my husband wasn't providing them for me. And The food is absolutely exceptional on board all of our ships, no matter if it's the World Explorer, the Ultramarine, or the tried and true little expedition ship, the Ocean Adventurer. She even has excellent cuisine on her.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess you need a big meal after all these adventures.
And the chillier weather in Antarctica, I mean, it does average about -5 to +5. Well, as you experienced it too, Devin. But sometimes the colder weather, like it's makes you a little bit hungrier. So just because it's an expedition doesn't mean we're sacrificing creature comforts and delightful food.
Actually, that was one thing that really surprised me. I brought all my winter gear, and then I arrived in Antarctica and it was only -2. So I was like, oh, this is a piece of cake. I'm Canadian. This is like nice
Right?
weather.
In February, there are sometimes where I'm doing in-person events and it's like -17 in Toronto or -24 in Edmonton. I'm like, it's warmer in Antarctica right now than it is
Yeah,
here.
I know. You don't really understand it until you've been there.
It's not, and
Um,
that's a great barrier to selling. And I love that you brought that up, Devin, because so many people who haven't sold expedition or polar in general, a lot of preconceived notions with their clients is that it's so cold. And why would I want to
mhm.
go there? It's so cold. And I love that you brought that up because it is so forgotten that we're going to Antarctica in their summer. We're going to the Canadian Arctic, in Greenland, in areas of Norway in our summer. So it's not as cold as people think it is.
Yeah, I also found it interesting that there's, I'm not a scientist here, but there's some kind of wind system happening there that they actually barely get any snow either. They only get a couple inches of snow.
Yes, because
It's just
it's
all
a
the snow that like never
yes,
melts.
because of the desert. You're absolutely right.
Yes, it's a desert.
You're
Yes.
absolutely right.
Okay, final question from the agents. Is there an option to book in Canadian dollars?
Yes. And so I'm so glad they asked. On our dates and rates tab right on our website, there's a toggle down for US or Canadian pricing. So whatever your client's preferring to pay in, and we accept all major credit cards with no credit card fee or wire. So when you're on our website at quarkexpeditions.com, right at the top, there's a dates and rates tab. And you can just switch it to Canadian pricing, and that'll be all in Canadian pricing with all of our current promotions there too, as well as all the additional adventure options that are available and their pricing as well.
Great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here today. That was a great presentation. We all learned a lot. Do you have any kind of final words of inspiration for the agents out there?
Really, please, I encourage each and every one of you to share a little 30-second video with your clients or share some images of the polar regions and inspire them to think about traveling to the Arctic or Antarctica, because the perfect client won't walk through the door or get in your inbox and say, I'm booking a trip to Antarctica. I highly recommend reaching out and sharing these incredible experiences with your client and say, hey, I was just on a webinar and I was thinking of you. I think you might really like to see this, and send a little video because it really can put them in the experience with some of our testimonials that we have.
Okay, thank you so much, Cara, and thank you so much, travel agents out there, for joining us today. We will draw the prize offline and then let the winner know. So please join us again on another webinar coming up. And hey, let's all go to the polar regions or Antarctica. We all need a little adventure in our life.
I
So
agree, Devin. We can all cool off right now in the summers and some of the heat that we're having.
I know a polar plunge doesn't sound so bad right about now. Okay,
Well,
on
thank
that
you
note,
again for having me.
yes, yes. Take care, everyone. We'll see you all again soon. Bye.